I wrote this largely to help myself and others, especially non-scholars, know that the Bible is completely true, inerrant, infallible, inspired, completely true. How can a simple person, even a child or even a villager in the bush of Nigeria or a Papua New Guinea tribesman, pre-literate, can those people hear the stories of Scripture spoken to them over, say, 6 months, like some people do this narrative kind of mission preaching, and come to a warranted conviction that the Bible is true and be willing to die for it without being fools? That's my question. And the reason I wrote it that way is because it felt like I needed that. Because when I was learning apologetic arguments in the late 60s, I thought they were very helpful, and a week later I couldn't remember them. This is fragile. When I'm hearing them, they work and they're faith building, and when I need to reproduce them to share with somebody, yikes, I can remember 3 out of the 5 steps of the argument and I can't remember the others, and so what am I going to do? And I realized, if that's true for me, that's going to be true for a lot of people, which means we're going to be walking fragile, uncertain a lot of times. I can't reproduce my reasons. I can't reproduce my reasons. I said, something else has got to be the path towards confidence, warranted, justified confidence, not just shot in the dark confidence. And I look back over my life to see, so why do you believe? And I wanted to just be existentially honest, like, because mommy and daddy told me to. Is that all it is, or is it more to it than that? Before I went to the Bible and saw, what does the Bible teach? I just want to be honest. Like, why do I believe? And what I realized was that I hadn't been holding on to a conservative or a controversial view of the Bible. The Bible had been holding on to me. It took me, when I was 15, when they gave me a Bible, it took me over and over again at Wheaton College and held me. It took me at Fuller Seminary and held me. In Germany for 3 years, in a very unbelieving, non-evangelical setting, it took me and held me. And it wasn't just that I was being held by the book. I was being held by something shining through the book. The book was like a window. I used, I think, the image in the book. It's not like a masterpiece hanging on the wall of the chalet in the Swiss Alps. It's like a window in the chalet where you look out to the Alps and you have the Alps itself shining through, saying, these are the Alps. You're in the Alps of God here. And so that's the way it worked for me, that something was going on. I didn't know how to articulate that biblically. So I studied the Word, and I realized with numerous texts, the Bible itself, on the analogy of nature, speaking the glory of God, Jesus speaking the glory of God, the gospel speaking the glory of God, all of those were vindicating themselves by means of revealing glory. And the principle was just extended further. The whole Bible is vindicated by the glory of God, the unmistakable, inimitable, unique, peculiar divine glory shining through the Word. So if that's new to people, if it sounds strange, that's why I wrote the book, in order that a concept like that could be understood, owned, and people could say, I think that is what happened to me. I spoke on this recently, and I was supposed to relate it to children. And I made the point that all of us come to Christ and experience supernatural things before we can put names on them. And a life is spent learning from the Bible how to name the way God dealt with us. That's true about how we came to believe the Bible. A lot of people who can't articulate why they believe the Bible believe it for good reasons. Isn't that strange? There's good spiritual warrant for what happened to them as they encountered the Bible, and they've never learned language that names what happened so that they could commend it to someone else. And so that's one of the things I hope this book does. I hope it introduces into a lot of people's lives a vocabulary, a biblical vocabulary that can articulate, explain how God saved them and how God persuaded them that the Bible is true.